Hi, welcome to the table. My name is Don Jacobs, and I'm just so thrilled that you guys are all here at this interesting time. We don't normally meet at this time, but because of just kind of special circumstances that are happening today, we are thankful that you are here to join us. Um, so a couple of things we were talking about earlier this week. We were just talking about our values. Just here at the table, we're just a reminder that we're thoughtful, inclusive, eclectic, vulnerable, and communal. And that's important because we do have to help foster some of that, especially the communal part. We do have meetups that you can take a part of. If you have not already been hearing about this already, you should. But there's one that we want to miss definitely high for this particular week. It's about our teenage girls. This is actually hosted by Maggie Porter and Maggie Tilford. And they host this on Wednesday evenings about 7 p.m. And they're primarily virtually doing Google Hangouts, especially during this cold weather. Occasionally, they do try to meet in person when weather's cooperating. But if that's something you're interested in, make sure you contact them and give them a shout out. They would be happy to get you guys connected. I do want to get us into, because it is Black History Month. And I did want to highlight one amazing person that has done some great work. This is actually by Howard Thurman. And this is a benediction that I found that I felt like kind of led into some of the worship that we're going to be doing today. But he actually was very influenced by Martin Luther King Jr.'s work. He was actually born in the 1800s. And he just did a lot of excellent work. He was a great author, just went great writer, good speaker, and just I saw this and I was like, this is a good spot. So just want to share this with you. It's Lord, Lord, open unto me. Open unto me light for my darkness. Open unto me courage for my fear. Open unto me hope for my despair. Open up to me peace for my turmoil. Open up to me joy for my sorrow. Open unto me strength for my weakness. Open unto me wisdom for my confusion. Open unto me forgiveness for my sins. Open unto me tenderness for my toughness. Open unto me love for my hates. Open unto me thyself for myself. Lord, Lord, open unto me. Amen.
Good afternoon. It's Super Bowl Sunday. I say that like I'm excited. I don't even know who's in the Super Bowl, you guys. But nevertheless, I'm excited.
Go football.
Yay! Sports ball, as our friend Ryan calls it. So this week, Brett's talking about serving and giving out of a place of joy. And as I was thinking about that, I feel like the times that I do that the best are the times where I feel like I have been taken care of well and loved well. And when I can ground myself in that love of God that's with me in every season, that acceptance and that identity that He gives me, when I am grounded in that, then I'm able to serve, even if sometimes, it's not the ideal scenario. I can still serve out of that place of gratitude and joy and excitement. So that's kind of the theme. You might hear threads of that woven throughout the lyrics in some of the songs that I chose for today. And for a lot of us, I feel like it's helpful, at least for me, to think about relationships in my life where I feel like that is like on display, where I have been loved well, where I've been taken care of. And some people people that immediately come to mind. It's like my Aunt Debbie. If you guys have ever met her before, she is just like encountering a hug. It's like a relationship with a hug. She can anticipate our needs before we sometimes even know what they are. And also people in our community like Nikki Parker. If you know Nikki, then you have been loved well, because that's just who she is. Adam is amazing at serving and blessing others and being thoughtful and providing for people when they're in need, or just blessing them with gifts and words of encouragement, and always just showing gratitude, and just, I don't know, it's such an encouragement to know Adam, I feel like. Kelly Tilford is another person. She doesn't even live in Texas, but she has been a part of our table community from afar, and she's one of those people in my life that's just, she takes care of us. That's just who she is. So anyways, if you want to reflect on some relationships where you have tangibly encountered the love and the care of God, then I hope you'll do that. Maybe that will be a good connection point during this set. So we're gonna get started. The sparrow's not worried about tomorrow or the trouble to come. The lily's not thinking about the seasons, the doubt or the flood. The breeze not planted by the water, isn't fazed by the fire. So why should I be? Why should I be? 'Cause you take good care of me. You take good care of me. You know what I need before I even ask a thing. You hold me in your hands with a kindness that never ends. I'm carried in your love no matter what the future brings. Yeah, you take good care of me. The sun's not worried about the winter, 'cause soon it will pass. The light's not thinking about the darkness or the shadow that it casts. A heart that's planted in forgiveness doesn't dwell in the past. So why should I be? Oh, why should I be? 'Cause you take good care of me. You take good care of me. You know what I need before I even ask God that loves, not a God of shame, not a God of disappointment, God. You are not one to separate yourself from us despite our mistakes, our shortcomings, our lack of understanding. Even when we portray you or interact with you as something other than who you really are, you are faithful and good and kind to continue to meet us with grace and love and redemption. God, you keep rewriting our story. We invite you into them. Ground us in your love. Thanks for being who you are. And help us to love others out of that place. It's in your name I pray. Amen. Amen. Thanks, guys.
Hey, good evening, everyone. Grace and peace. Welcome to the table. It's really, really great to be with you. So we are in part 5 of our series titled Epiphany, a radical invitation. And the idea of the season of Epiphany in the church calendar is that it's a time to reflect on who Christ was and is, who he reveals God to be, and really what our response to that revealing is. So you can see that in many ways, Epiphany, the season of Epiphany, is the perfect follow-up to Christmas and in the season of Advent, because Advent is all about waiting and receiving something from God that we do not work for or earn. It's really a season of kind of contemplation of grace. But Epiphany is slightly different. It's really about our response as the church to the gift of Jesus, which is why it has traditionally come after the Christmas season. So with that in mind, the title of my message this afternoon is Overflow. Overflow. We have a few different scripture readings. And the first is from Isaiah 40, verses 28 through 31. The second is from 1 Corinthians 9:19. And the third is Mark 1, 29 through 31. But I'll go ahead and start with Isaiah. It says, "Do you not know? Have you not heard? The Lord is the everlasting God, the creator of the ends of the earth. He will not grow tired or weary, and his understanding no one can fathom. He gives strength to the weary and increases the power of the weak. Even youths grow tired and weary, and young men stumble and fall. But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint." It's a very famous passage from Isaiah. It's quite poetic and beautiful. So the second one is 1 Corinthians 9:19. Paul writes, "For though I am free from all, I have made myself a servant to all." And then finally, Mark chapter 1. "And immediately Jesus left the synagogue and entered the house of Simon and Andrew with James and John. Now Simon's mother-in-law lay ill with a fever, and immediately they told him," that would be Jesus, "about her. And so he came and he took her by the hand and lifted her up, and the fever left her, and she began to serve them." So one of the great spiritual disciplines in the Christian tradition is the practice of service, of serving others. This, of course, springs directly from Christ himself, who in a variety of places and times both spoke to this practice and even modeled it. So in his speaking, there's the famous passage from Matthew chapter 20, verse 28, where he said, "The Son of Man," that was referring to himself, "the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve." Now, because that's on Jesus' lips, and we sort of expect him to say things like that, it may not sound all that, surprising or remarkable. But if you pause and think about it, Jesus was the type of person who others would have been happy to serve. He was charismatic and likable. He was very powerful and could engage the miraculous. He had a certain presence about him, carrying a sense of authority. He had a large following of people everywhere he went. He's like a rock star or something. And yet it was him. He said, I did not come to be served, but to serve. Another example is from Matthew chapter 23, verse 11, where the disciples are, they're all arguing over who among them will be the greatest in the afterlife. Typical ego argument. And so Jesus says, well, let me settle this for you. The greatest among you, and I'm sure they were all just on the edge of their seats. It's me. The greatest among you is the servant of all. What a deflating kind of, the greatest among you is the servant among you. In other words, if you want to be great, lay down your life and serve. And then finally, in terms of his example, his actual living, there's a famous story from John chapter 13, where Jesus, after a very long day of walking, and remember the roads in the ancient world were like not roads like we think of. I mean, they were basically non-existent. It was really mostly dirt paths that people walked, and they wore sandals. And so they were in the dust and dirt and mud. And of course, they're like animal droppings all in the path. So their feet were pretty nasty after a day's walk. And so at the end of the day, the 12 disciples and Jesus, they all gather in a room for a meal. When suddenly Jesus gets up from his seat, gathers a towel and a wash basin, and one by one proceeds to wash all 12, well, really 24, of the disciples' feet. And this was a job normally reserved for the servant of the house, or for the lowest ranking person in the room, which apparently none of them wanted to admit to being, so everyone's feet had gone unwashed. And so Jesus, he does this. He washes their feet. And then after he finished, he asked them this. He said, do you know what I've done for you? And it was pretty clearly a rhetorical question because they were silent. And then he continued, you call me teacher and Lord, and rightly so. Now that I, the Lord, have washed your feet, you also ought to wash one another's feet. And so generations of Christians have really understood this story as it's like a parable of sorts, like a living parable. In other words, it's less about literally washing each other's feet. I'm guessing you would all feel rather uncomfortable and awkward if every time you entered like a fellow Christian's house, they just insisted on washing your feet. So it's less literal, and now we see it as this profound metaphor, this profound example of who we are called to be. We are the foot washing people of the world. We are the servants of all. It's a beautiful statement. Very, very beautiful. And yet, like everything, it has its shadow side. And here's what I mean. It has been misunderstood. It has been at times misused and even abused. I mean, sometimes even by like manipulative church leaders who say things like, well, you can't say no to helping the church. You can't turn this down. You're a follower of Christ, the servant of all. And furthermore, you're to submit to your spiritual authority, me. But so you can see there how that can get kind of like, ugh. I mean, it's like technically, yes, you are quoting Jesus, but there's something about this interaction that feels a little off. But it's not always church leaders, and I don't mean to imply like that's all church leaders are all doing that all the time. I hope that's not the case. But sometimes though it's not even about just leadership or something. It's just by well-meaning folks, but people maybe who are wired in a way where they really they're pleasers, right? They're kind of hungry for love and hungry for approval, and those folks can often be very tempted towards a kind of misunderstanding of this invitation to be the servant of all, which is why when some people hear statements like be the servant of all, or lay down your life for others. What they hear, not necessarily what the Bible is saying, but what they hear, what they're interpreting, sounds something like this. So just to be clear, I'm not advocating for this. I'm saying this is what people hear. They hear We are the people who let others walk all over us. We are the people who do not know how to set boundaries. We are the people who live in deep fear of disappointing others. We are the people who serve to the point of total depletion and exhaustion, just giving. And then we serve some more. We are the people who feel chronically guilty for not doing enough. We are the people who must always say yes to helping and pretend to love it, even though we're dying a little inside. We're the people who believe that you can never tell the pastor or a church leader, I'm sorry, no, I can't help out there. Now, what am I getting at with all this? Here's what I'm trying to get at. When the Bible speaks of serving others, it is not about serving from a place of exhaustion, guilt, or earning love and approval. That's the key. When the Bible speaks of serving others, it's not about serving. It's not trying to describe us serving from this place of exhaustion, guilt, or earning love and approval. Instead, it is about serving from a place of rest, a sense of calling, and a deep knowing that because I am loved, because I am valuable, because God calls me beloved son, beloved daughter, I am free. I'm free to be the servant of all without feeling diminished, without having my sense of agency robbed from me because no has been taken off the table. Like, no, that's not Christian service. Instead, the idea is that when we come into alignment with Christ, with the Holy Spirit, our service, the sense of service, it begins to bubble up from within, from the soul, from strength, from a sense of faith, hope, and love. Can you hear the difference between that kind of service and something like this? Like, well, I better say yes, because if I say no, then they may not love me anymore. Or I just feel terrible saying no, so I'll just go ahead and say yes. Can you hear the difference between those two statements and a type of service that bubbles up from within? You see, there is a way of serving that stems from weakness and insecurity. However, the type of service that Jesus is both talking about and modeling for us is service from a sense of strength, from calling, from great love and gratitude. And this is why I love our scriptures for today. Coming back to Isaiah 40, starting in verse 30 this time. Even youths grow tired and weary. Young men stumble and fall, but those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint. Here's my question. What would it look like if your service was a form of soaring, of thriving, of running, so to speak, without growing weary, of walking forward every day without getting exhausted? Wouldn't that be wonderful? But when you're serving the way God calls you to serve, that's the sensation. That's what it feels like. It's not day after day after day of ugh. It's day after day of this is who I am. This is who God has called me to be. In other words, God has called me to a life of loving service, not exhaustion, burnout, and resentment. That's a word for someone. Resentment. If you are resenting your service, if you're resenting people who you have to serve, and by the way, here, I'm not just talking about serving in the church. Like, this is anywhere in your life. If you're resenting your service, then something is off. That is not the life God has called you to. And by the way, I'm not saying the problem is your attitude. That if you would just turn that frown upside down, then things would be fine and dandy. I mean, maybe it's an attitude thing. I guess that's the case. It's possible that's the case, but that's not quite what I'm naming. I'm saying more than likely, you're just not very good at setting boundaries. And now you're blaming others for it. or perhaps blaming God. Here I am being miserable, doing what you told me to do. No, he didn't call you. Nope. No, it's just there's a failure of boundaries here. I speak from experience. I've been on such a journey with this for the last probably 10 years. This is something I've talked about this quite often in my messages because just for those who know me well, they know that while I love my work here at the table. I love it. I can be at times driven by insecurity and a fear of failure. And I can kind of be pushed by that into a certain mode of overworking, of overextending myself. And then I become the worst version of myself, often taking out my frustration and exhaustion, not on all of you, because, hey, I'm, kind Pastor Brett. Instead, it is my family who suffers, often, honestly, my kids, primarily in the evenings when I can just become a terribly crappy person to be around. I've been, better in recent years with this, but it used to be quite bad, and it's very much an ongoing battle. So this is this is a bit of a silly example, but here's a moment that replays, we'll just say, too often. So it's towards the end of my work week, and I'm tired. And someone from the church, or sometimes it's kind of our extended community. There are folks who kind of look to the table for like emotional support and such. Who maybe don't even attend, but they've heard about us and we're just in touch. So someone, they reach out and they just need some emotional support. So they call me, and I know, just based on the name on my phone, I know they're going to need something from me. But it's towards the end of the week, and I'm exhausted. And I just don't have all that much more to give that week. Have you ever been there? Just like, I don't know how much I have to give here. So there I am. I see the name, and so I answer. And sure enough, they're in need. They need something, and often like it's an emergency. They need it now. It's a crisis. And right now, this is like the moment of truth. And they say, "Hey, can we meet? Can we meet today?" And I'm like, "Of course." Yes. And I could justify it, right? I'm a pastor, and we're supposed to be the servant of all. Imagine how much more I'm supposed to be the servant of all if you all are supposed to be the servant of all. I'm like the pastor, so I'm the servant of all, of course. I'm Christ himself. Okay, that was heretical. I didn't mean that literally, just a joke. But so that's the situation I get myself into. Now, what should I have said? What should I have told them? Here's what I should have said. I can tell you really need someone to be there for you. And you know what? That is okay. That's fine. Sometimes we just need someone. Here's the thing. Today, it just can't be me. Let me put you in touch with someone who can help. That's what I should have said. Because Jesus' exhortation to serve others is not an excuse for my own immaturity and people-pleasing and lack of boundary setting. And what inevitably happens? Well, I meet with them, and then in that moment, I'm much more the young man growing tired and weary, as Isaiah says, than the person renewing my strength and soaring like an eagle. And that's when I know I'm doing it wrong. That's when I know. And of course, it's on me. It's not on them. Just to be clear, I'm not blaming, how could they call me? Like, no, that's fine. I have failed to set the appropriate boundaries. God did not command me to say yes to everyone. And I know you all would be perfectly fine if I said, hey, you know what? Not right now. Let's meet next week. You'd be fine. See, this is my issue, but I'm learning. And honestly, I could take a huge lesson from the Apostle Paul. I love this passage that we read earlier, 1 Corinthians 9, verse 19. Paul writes, "For though I am free from all, I have made myself a servant to all." Isn't that beautiful? That's like the pinnacle of the spiritual life. I am far from the pinnacle. What a beautiful statement. Although I am free from all, although I don't have to say yes to anything or anyone because I know I'm loved. I know I'm worthy. I don't need people's approval. I don't need them all to be happy with me. I am free. But precisely, Paul says, because I am free, I can make myself the servant of everyone I meet. What does he mean? He's saying that he can serve anytime, anywhere, anyone, because it does not demean him. It does not make him feel little or lesser than. He's not compulsive or guilt-ridden or afraid of disappointing others in his service. You see, he resents no one because he is free. He can say no. And it's precisely because he can say no, because he's free, right? That he can also say a true, heartfelt, loving yes. Yes. And when we can operate in that mode, then our service, it flows like oil rather than grinding like metal on metal gears. Which is honestly exactly what our gospel reading today from Mark chapter 1, verses 30 through 31. We'll come back to that. Now, Simeon's mother-in-law lay ill with a fever, and immediately they told Jesus about her. And so he came and took her by the hand and lifted her up, and the fever left her, and she began to serve them. I don't imagine that when she awoke from her fever and found she had been healed by Jesus, I doubt that she then thought to herself, like, oh, great. Oh, we have guests? Oh, more people needing things from me. I don't know. I don't think that's it at all. Is that I imagine that Simon Peter's mother-in-law was overjoyed to live, right? Suddenly the world was bright and beautiful again. I mean, you know what it's like to recover from a sickness. We've spent enough time in bed. Like, let's get up. So I imagine she was energized, and because God had done great things for her, she began to serve out of the overflow. That's how our service should be. It's springing up from within, from a place of joy, from gratitude. Let me sum it up like this. When we serve from the overflow, our service flows easily and lovingly. When we serve from the overflow, what do I mean by overflow? I mean from grace, from a sense of calling, from love, from, as Paul talked about, freedom. Then our service flows easily and lovingly. All right, so what's the takeaway? How should you live differently in light of this message? So my hunch is that you need to ask yourself these two questions. Number one, what do I need to let go of? In other words, where have I been serving with a growing sense of resentment rather than freedom? What do I need to maybe delegate or say no to? And this could be at work, this could be at home, this could be at church. Like if you're doing something and it is gears grinding, metal on metal, you are depleted and you are growing resentful. Again, as I said earlier, you're not doing the Lord's work, or at least you're not doing it in the right way. That's not what Jesus is talking about. So ask yourself, okay, what do I need to let go of? Or what do I need to rethink here? I mean, because maybe it's just that you need to do less of that thing. Like you're still called to do the thing. It's just, I need to back this off. And then go ahead and schedule a conversation with the appropriate person. So that's the first question. Okay, what do I need to let go of? Second question, what do I need to take up? See, this is about prioritizing. Who or what are you called to give attention to right now in this season of life? Because it shifts and changes over time, right? And sometimes you're like holding on to something from the past. It's like, oh, I just can't give that up. And it's gears grinding metal on metal. And meanwhile, it's because God's calling you to this new thing. So, okay, what am I called to give attention to now in this season? What would be the place of great joy for you to serve? and then start moving towards those people or that thing. One way to think about it is go where the grace is, go where the energy is, go where the joy is. Amen? All right, so in place of a prayer, I wanted to take 60 seconds to thank some very special people for their service in this season. So, to all of the teachers who have had your routines and rhythms upended by this pandemic, and you've been willing to sit with our kids each day and put yourself at risk so that they can learn, we see you. And we are so incredibly grateful. For the healthcare workers, thinking of doctors, nurses, other staff at hospitals and clinics, doctors' offices, as well as all of the first responders. We have a number of those at the table. Y'all are right on the front lines of everything with this pandemic battle. And again, we're so incredibly grateful for your service. We love you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And now for the folks at the table, to all of our wonderful behind the scenes folks. I'm thinking of Candace Frank, who does all of our bookkeeping. Where would we be without Candace? I shudder to think. And Rob Mikado, who actually is just joined us now, starting to oversee our finance team. Thank you both so much. Kasha Watts, who handles all of our social media posts and digital marketing. It's not by magic that those show up, and I'm not doing it. She is doing it. And so I'm so grateful for you, my friend. To all of our volunteers in meetups, y'all, a round of applause for all of our meetup leaders. Here's ones who are presently leading. It's Daryl Adams with the men's meetup. It's Maggie Tilford and Maggie Porter with the teen group. Karen and Gary Miner, who are leading our pandemic support group. It's Sarah Johns and Glenda Bayron with our book club. It's Milagros Mikado and Nancy Purdy with the Be the Bridge racial reconciliation group. Y'all, over the last 10 months, y'all have been just rocks of connection in an ocean of disconnection for so many people. Thank you for your time and energy. We love you. And finally, Brittany Johnson with Kids Ministries. She's sending out that weekly newsletter that you all are getting. And Mindy Runnels for figuring out how to lead worship online. Gary and Scott with the tech team. And so many others on that team. And I could just keep going. But I just want to name, just thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Even us, I think of Sarah Johns, Marissa Martinez, who are helping with our kind of hostess role in the background on Sunday evenings. Y'all, we're so blessed. I'm so blessed. My heart is full. I love this community. So I didn't want a message on service to, do the whole thing without recognizing this, just many people who are currently serving both in our church and beyond in our community. So God sees you. We see you. We love you. All right. That's all I got. Grace and peace.
Thanks, babe. I couldn't agree with that more. It made me a little bit emotional as he was naming just the different people. When I think about your personal lives and what you're giving up, I think one of the best things I've ever heard is anytime we say yes to one thing, we're saying no to another. So to those of you that Brett just named who have chosen to show up in those ways during this time, thank you, because it comes at a cost and it comes with sacrifice. And I can say this next song that I'm about to share with you is called 2, and it's from the Enneagram series that was written by Sleeping at Last. And Mindy had asked me to share it because I identify as a 2 on the Enneagram. And for those of you who are 2s out there, I know this message probably hits really, really close to home. I can say for myself, one of my most I don't know if embarrassing is the right word, but telling moments for sure. I remember at one point, Brett and I were serving at our last church, and it was just a time where all hands were needed on deck. But as someone who can sometimes operate in the unhealthy sides of that, I was a little out of balance, to say the least. And I don't think it hit me. I was in the place that he was talking about where you start to resent and you start to feel sorry for yourself and you feel a little bit entitled. And those things were happening. And I'm just thinking of everyone else who's not protecting me or looking out for me or grateful enough for all that I'm doing. I mean, that was like what was in my head. I remember sitting at a leadership meeting and saying, that we were doing a check-in on everyone. How are you doing? How's this season going? And I said, I feel like I would just cut myself open and bleed to keep everybody else happy. In my head, before I said that, I thought, this is really something to be admired. And then as the words come out of my mouth, I realize how out of balance it is. And not necessarily something to be proud of. And really and truly, the only person who can protect me in that situation is myself. But at our best, and when we can operate in health, and I love the language that Brett just used, in the strength of that service and that way of showing love to other people, it can be this amazing force in the world that truly gives, not in a unhealthy way, but gives of itself for the sake of others and lays their life down in a way that can be incredibly Christ-like. So this song is sort of a picture into the heart behind service, and it kind of exposes both the unhealthy sides of it, as well as a true attempt to get to a place where you're doing it in strength and, out of a true sense of calling and identity. So anyways, I'm going to share that, and I hope you guys enjoy it. Sweetheart, you look a little tired. When did you last eat? Come in and make yourself right at home. Stay as long as you need. Tell me if something's wrong. If something's wrong, you can count on me. I'll take my heart clean apart if it helps yours beat. It's okay if you can't find the words. Let me take your coat and its weight off of your shoulders. Like a force to be reckoned with, mighty ocean or a gentle kiss. I will love you with every single thing I have. Like a tidal wave will make a mess. Calm waters if it serves you best. I will love you without any strings attached. It's okay if you can't catch your breath. You can take the oxygen right out of my own chest. I know exactly how your rules go. Put my mask on first. No, I don't want to talk about myself. Tell me where it hurts. Just want to build you up till you're good as new. And maybe one day I can get around to fixing myself too. I just wanna love you, to love you, to love you well. I just wanna learn how to somehow be loved myself. Like a force to be reckoned with, mighty ocean or a gentle kiss. I will love you without any strings attached. What a privilege it is to love, great honor to hold you up. Like a force to be reckoned with, mighty ocean or a gentle kiss. I will love you without any strings attached. Like a bridal wave will make a mess, calm waters if it serves you best. I will love you without any strings attached. I will love you without a single string attached.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. And also, thank you for joining us tonight. If you're in need of prayer or support this time, please just message us at the table on either on Facebook or in the chat below, and we'll just have one of our leaders follow up with you. And then, of course, we want to encourage you to give to the table. You can do that at thetabletx.org. That's an easy way to do that. And then, as we close tonight, I do want to share this benediction with you. May the blessing of God go before you. May God's grace and peace abound. May God's Spirit live within you. May God's love wrap you around. And may God's blessing remain with you always. May you walk on holy ground. Amen. Be blessed and have a great week. See you next Sunday.